I do not have knowledge about something, it's in my interest and the interest of all of us to make that known. And I have a zillion things that I don't know, okay? And I don't ever try to pretend, I sure hope not, I do not try to pretend that I know about something that I don't. I'll be blunt with you here, okay? And I have seen this video. I'm aware of this place called Silent Superbug. At this point, I do not have knowledge of certain things that I would like to know about that source. First off is I have no idea, and again, I'm not saying it's not there, I just don't know it. And that is I do not have call it the source or the names behind the production of this particular video clip or website called Silent Superbug. I'm aware of its existence. I spent a little bit of time with it, but I don't know who's behind it. And I just have a video at this point. The word quorum sensing, okay, from my side, sorry, I don't know what it is. I don't have it defined yet. So, as time goes on, you folks will also educate me on something that is important. And at this point, I have no knowledge or definition of what that term really means. And in terms of phonomes, if that's pronounced right, do not know what they are. And Andrew's going to help us out with that someday by writing it up so we can all see it. At least that's my hope. So you can see I don't score too well on that question, and that's fine because that's the way it is. And it just tells you there's a lot of things that he's asking that I have no idea about right now. Okay. So thanks for asking, Andrew. And your questions will actually, the more questions you ask, the more it will point out what is not known. And you would never rely on any single source as being absolute authority to anything as far as I'm concerned. He's trying to respond to us okay, but it's not fair to him here. And maybe Andrew will make his work known in a broader sense, but at least I'll write down what he's told you. Maybe you can all see it. But Andrew is saying quorum sensing is a process by which bacteria communicate using chemical substances. Okay, well that's a great definition, and that would make a lot of sense to me. My goodness, do I think that would apply in this case? Yeah, absolutely. I would. I would expect there to be a form of communication. Again, biochemistry is fundamental to that, and I have repeatedly reported that two of the components of the Morgellons thing that we're talking about tonight, two of them have very strong bacterial-like qualities to them. So thanks for that. I hope that helps at least a little bit. And Scott is asking, what are your feelings about the organism's apparent intelligence and its ability to morph into different structure as laid out in some of Gwen Scott's papers? Well, intelligence is a great question in itself, right? First of all, we have to see how we define intelligence, right? There's a lot of different ways it can be defined. I don't have the magic definition. I've had it presented to me in different ways in my life. One of the most interesting interpretations or definitions of intelligence that I have run into in my life is that of adaptability. A case could be made that intelligence is an expression of adaptability. I'm not saying that's what it is, I'm just saying that's an interpretation. And it's an interesting one. Because, and you might throw in the term survival also. But I don't see necessarily survival as being a condition necessarily sufficient to justify intelligence. But when you combine adaptability and survival together, you've got a pretty good combination there, which may indeed be a very good expression of intelligence. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is because, again, the information indicates that this particular organism or set of organisms very much fit that bill, and they fit it extremely well. When you talk about adaptability, meaning ability to thrive under varying circumstances or conditions. Right? And survival being the ability to exist under, let's call it, extremely difficult, adverse, or hostile conditions. This thing is doing quite well as far as that goes. You know, the notion has also been brought up, again, more of an anecdotal level, but I understand the anecdotal level because that's a lot, again, that's where things often start. And the phrase has been brought up, I don't know if it was Mickelson that mentioned that or not in an interview, but the phrase was brought up one time about a hive intelligence, okay? And hive intelligence is an interesting notion too, and that is survival in a community sense, okay? An understanding of the existence of another part of the organism that may not be immediately attached or may not be under the direct control, but still have a process of communication take place. You know, and this may tie in exactly with what Andrew was talking about here a little bit earlier. I do see indications that there is the possibility of what you would call a hive intelligence. There are just certain interesting things that have been recorded. So should I consider that? And so I'll throw it out in my answer in those terms right now. I throw it out in terms of adaptability, survival, and maybe a different kind of intelligence. Again, intelligence can be defined in many different ways, but the idea of a hive intelligence, and you put all three of those things together and you have the possibility of something that is extremely hardier resistant to any type of, let's say, conventional attempt to eradicate it. So, hope that was helpful. And the business about morphing, you know, the business on morphing, again, it's one of those, I need to see it. If somebody tells me it's doing something or it's changing, I need to see it. And I don't know whether people want to hear that or not, but it's what I'm going to tell them. Anytime somebody tells me that something happens or it does something, this is a case for anything, I need to see it if you're going to make a case for it. Now, anybody can make their claim, and that's fine. Maybe we have, quote, certain types of morphing taking place, but I need that defined, and I need to see what we're talking about. And until I see those papers, I'm not sure yet what we're talking about. The work that I do intends to be as explicit as possible to show, if I'm saying something, that I have to try to show you what I'm telling you, and this is something I would need. And I'm never saying no. I rarely would say no to anything. Again, the more, as I age, the more possibilities there are, and we would be foolish to deny them. But if I'm going to convince you, I have to do my work. All right. This other question about speculate as to a possible motivation for the introduction organism, you know, I don't know that I can do any more with that. I guess I can sense where the person's leading. You know, we talked about a little bit about whether it was artificial or not and this type of thing. The introduction of the organism, you know. Well, you know, these questions are difficult. I appreciate your questions. They're difficult answers, and we know that, and that's why we're seeking them. But now we're talking about why. You know, why does it exist? First, we're talking about whether or not it's artificial or not, and intelligence, and then we're talking about why does it exist, right? What's the motive for the introduction? You know, actually, I don't know. Unfortunately, the scenario is not a pleasant one here, in the sense that the information indicates that the vast majority of the population appears to be affected by this. Appears to be. Again, just based upon observation and study. I'm not going to say that's the case, but that's what it indicates at this point. So, you know, is that on purpose? I don't know. I can only state what appears to be the case.